Welcome back to Western New York Living. Nobody wants to be in a car accident, the stress, the screeching, the crash, and then how do you deal with it? Well, if you are the victim of being in a car accident, you probably have a lot of questions, especially when it comes to what your auto insurance covers. Well, that's where our next guest comes in. We say hello to Greg Pajak here from Cellino Law. Nice to have you in the studio.
Great to be here.
All right, so tell me what we need to know after an accident. What do we want to have covered? And tell me the first things we do if an accident occurs.
Well, the reason it's most important to have insurance coverage in place is so that your family and you are protected in the event that you're injured. And there are multiple different things that you need to protect. You need to protect your wages, any medical expenses that you may incur because of the accident, and also you may need to be compensated for your pain and suffering. In other words, what you went through because you were injured in the accident. And you need to make sure that you have the right lines of coverage in place so that that your family and you are both protected.
Well, there's the problem, is that I wasn't planning on it before the accident. So how can I be proactive and know that I've got the right coverage before an accident occurs?
I think the key is to understand exactly what the different lines of coverage are in an insurance policy. And most of my clients over the years have said to me time and time again that they have full coverage.
Yeah.
But they don't.
Oh.
Full coverage is a phrase which actually means nothing. So a lot of insurance agents and a lot of people think they have full coverage, but then they end up having inadequate and insufficient coverage. And there are multiple different types or components of an insurance policy that you need to make sure that you have.
Can I check with you when I'm getting my insurance? Like, how does that work? Who do I check in with to make sure I've got the right coverage?
You need to have a competent insurance agent.
Okay.
There are some competent and some less competent insurance agents. So you have to trust your agent. It's good to call around, but it's also good to educate yourself so that you can know what type of insurance and what parts of auto insurance there are. For example, there's liability insurance, and that's the insurance that protects you and your family in case you're the bad guy in the accident. Sure. If you're the one that ran the red light and then you get sued, that liability insurance protects you and your family. The next type of insurance coverage, which is absolutely critical, is called no-fault insurance. Now, no-fault insurance also protects you and your family, but it pays for your medical bills and a percentage of your lost wages, regardless of fault, if you're in an accident. And then you have another line of coverage called supplementary uninsured motorist coverage, or SUM coverage. Now, that's a mouthful, but the reality is it's probably the most important one in my view out of all of them, because what that line of coverage does is protect you and your family in the event that the person who caused the accident has insufficient or no insurance.
So you need something to cover the gap, you think?
That's correct. So if the other person does not have enough insurance and you are catastrophically and severely injured, if you have enough SUM, supplementary uninsured motorist coverage, it doesn't matter what the other person has because you've now protected yourself because you purchased that extra layer of coverage.
Greg, can you tell me about some of the New York State requirements or limits when it comes to insurance?
Yes, they're all quite low. The mandatory minimum limit for liability coverage, again, that's where you get sued if you were the wrongdoer in an accident, is $25,000 per person, $50,000 per accident. So what that means is that if you get sued, your insurance company will protect you to the level of $25,000 for one person if they're hurt in that accident. That's not a lot of money, especially if the person that's hurt is a paraplegic, a quadriplegic, and you technically are on the hook for any amount over that. For no-fault insurance, New York State requires $50,000 to pay for medical expenses and also for lost wages. But again, the problem is that medical expenses are very expensive, and that's always not enough coverage, so you can supplement that with additional levels of no-fault coverage called additional personal injury protection and optional basic economic loss.
It's a lot to take in.
Yes,
I'm glad you're the expert on it. Greg, thank you so much for sharing some of your wisdom with us today.
It was a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
All right. The personal injury attorneys at Cellino Law represent injury victims throughout New York State. If you've been the victim of a car crash injury, then Cellino Law can help. Their offices in Buffalo are at 800 Delaware Avenue in Buffalo, or for more information, you can, of course, call them at 800-555-5555. You can also visit their website, cellinolaw.com, to learn more about all the different services that Cellino Law provides. Well, that wraps up our show for this morning, and I want to thank you all for tuning in. Next Saturday, Kevin Sylvester will be right back here hosting. And it'll be a little bit earlier at 8 a.m. due to the coverage of the Royal Ascot Horse Race. So make sure you enjoy the rest of your weekend. And most importantly, stay safe. We'll see you soon, Western New York.
This segment of Western New York Living was sponsored by the following: